Hi, my name is Steve Kleiman. I'm the author of TBM Performance. TBM Performance is one of a series of free open source apps for aircraft performance. The apps are available for Apple and Android mobile devices and also on any desktop or laptop computer by using a browser. Please visit pohperformance.com for more details. This video is about using the Normal and Emergency Procedures page on the TBM Performance app. If you'd like to follow along using your browser, please go to pohperformance.com/tbm. I'll be using an iPad to demonstrate today, but the page is the same on phones and browsers. I'm assuming you've downloaded the app and set up your aircraft on the aircraft page. I've set up a TBM 930 for demonstration purposes. It's important that you enter your aircraft serial number and installed options, as this can affect many things, including the performance calculations, procedures, and circuit breaker panel display. For example, if I reset the serial number to the default of 0, you'll see some more options appear that are always installed in later models. You'll notice a circuit breaker editor at the bottom. You can use this to make the displayed circuit breaker panel look like the one in your aircraft. If I open up the editor, I see a representation of the circuit breaker panel as in the POH. Suppose my aircraft just got a heads-up display installed. A new circuit breaker was placed in the blank spot on bus 2. If I touch the blank spot, it will highlight. I'll check Override Default to allow editing. Then I'll uncheck blank to allow me to fill in the details, which I'll enter. I also notice that my aircraft doesn't have an ADF installed, so I'll touch the ADF breaker, check Override Default, and also select blank. Now the panel looks like my aircraft. Notice that if I hadn't selected blank, I could put a breaker for a different gadget here. Now let's go to the Normal and Emergency Procedures page. Notice that there's a circuit breakers button near the top. If I hit that, a circuit breaker panel that matches my aircraft displays. Touching each breaker will highlight it and bring up a description. If I'm looking for a particular breaker, I can select it from the menu. If I want to know which breakers are connected to each bus, then I can hit the Buses button. This might be handy to look up what remains if you went on the Essential bus. Let's go back to the Procedures page. Notice that the procedures are organized by category. Normal procedures are first because they are executed the most. Emergency descents and fire are next, followed by CAS warnings, cautions, and advisories. You may find a procedure in more than one category if it makes sense to do that. The procedures include any procedures or procedure modifications included in the flight manual supplement for the options selected for the aircraft on the aircraft page. You'll find the procedures for any optional avionics in the avionics category. You'll also find G1000 and G3000 procedures in that category, which includes procedures and messages from the Garmin flight deck manual. Let's start with the normal pre-flight inspection procedure. The first thing to notice is that it's reminding you to check out the cold weather procedure if the temperature is below freezing. Unlike a paper procedure, these procedures are hyperlinked, so let's try it now. This takes us to the special cold weather procedure. Notice that there's an embedded calculator to figure out which envelope we need to use. The temperature at the departure airport is already filled in, but let's override that and say it's below freezing and we're doing a 1-hour quick turn, which is in envelope 1. Envelope 1 is selected, but I can select the other envelopes as well. Notice that these procedures have links to other procedures as required. Let's go back to the normal pre-flight by hitting the back button. Scrolling down to the first procedure step, we find it highlighted in yellow. This is the placeholder. I can set it anywhere by touching a step. I can move it up or down by using the up or down buttons on the right. Scrolling down, notice that there are embedded calculators for tire pressure, based on the temperature of the departure airport. There's also an embedded calculator for the minimum oxygen required for the flight. The next procedure button on the bottom right corner will bring us to the inside inspection procedure. The 900 series aircraft have a compact normal form and a more verbose amplified form. Press the Show Amplification button to see the expanded notes. It's a good idea to review these occasionally, as there are detail steps that are not present in the compact form. Notice that the first two steps are highlighted in red. These steps are memory items in the POH. Let's skip to the first non-memory item step. Also notice that a speaker symbol has appeared in the upper right corner. If I press the speaker button, my iPad will speak the step as it's selected.
Cabin door and pilot door, if installed, closed locked. Baggage, stowed. Emergency exit pin, removed.
I can mute the speech by hitting the button again. Speech is available on Apple and Android devices and many modern browsers. Currently, spoken checklists are only available for 900 series aircraft which have the compact normal procedures. It is not available for older aircraft or for the amplified form on the 900 series. Use the Next Procedure button to move through the normally executed procedures. Notice that there are embedded links, handy values, and calculators at the right places. For example, in the Before Starting Engine checklist for motoring, the rotation speed in the takeoff procedures, and the torque setting in the cruise procedure. Now let's explore the emergency procedures. Suppose we get a red gear unsafe CAS warning. This happened on extension, so we'll choose that. After reducing airspeed, we'll now need to execute the emergency gear extension procedure. At step 3, we'll have to pull the landing gear breaker. We can touch the link to figure out where that is. After step 7, we have to evaluate the lights. We find that the warning lights are still on, so we select that alternative. At step 15, we find that we have to land with an unlocked main gear, so we go to that procedure. After cleaning the seats, we'll go back to the procedure categories. Lastly, let's look at the glide calculator. It's intended to compute the glide distance taking the wind into account. It gets the initial values from the en route page and computes a glide distance using either the max range or max rate glide profiles. Adjust the altitude, indicated OAT, and wind speed as you descend to verify whether the target landing spot is reachable. This may not be as helpful with a glass cockpit that can display a bottom of descent arc. However, it does make somewhat different assumptions than a BOD arc. In particular, it assumes that tailwinds decrease to 0 as you descend. In addition, the page has an oxygen duration computer that computes the minimum oxygen pressure required to get to 12,000 feet. Use this value to decide whether you have enough oxygen for a max range descent. The page also computes a wind and weight adjusted indicated airspeed to use if the normal best glide speed will not work out. In general, the best glide speed lowers as an aircraft gets lighter. In addition, the best glide speed increases with a headwind and decreases with a tailwind until the max endurance speed. The glide airspeed is computed using general aerodynamic theory and in consultation with Daher. The weight is computed using the zero fuel weight from the weight and balance page and the current fuel level. Again, this airspeed is only for situations where the POH specified best glide speed will not produce a safe result. It should be confirmed using the bottom of descent arc if available. One more fun thing. Go to the Memory Items page under the More tab. Here you'll find all the procedures with memory items in flashcard form with just the memory items. It takes a while to open because it's going through all the procedures for your aircraft as configured with options. If you open the rejected takeoff procedure and hit Show, you'll find all the memory items in that procedure. A more complicated example is the engine failure after rotation procedure. I hope this has helped introduce you to some of the advanced capabilities of the TBM Performance app. If you have general questions about the app, have ideas for new features, find something confusing, or want to send some feedback, please send email to info@pohperformance.com. Safe flying.